Okay, I'm Sarah, and I'm going to interview the wonderful Miss Aguila, who works at TSTC. Yay! Okay, so Miss Aguila, uh, tell me the schools you worked at, because I know you work at TSTC now versus the public school, and how long you worked there.
Okay, well, I've been a teacher, an elementary teacher, for 26 years. 24 of those years I've been in pre-K, kinder, early childhood, and 1 year in fifth grade. Simultaneously, I've been teaching at a college level for 16 years now in 3 different countries, both teaching positions as an elementary teacher and as a college or university faculty.
Okay. Did you ever work with special needs students?
I have never worked specifically with special ed students. I've had special ed students in my classroom as part of the class, and I've tried my best to address their needs following their IEP, but not specifically and exclusively with special ed kids.
Okay. So in your experience, what were some of the behavioral problems you saw in students, gen ed, and sped?
Well, we're going to focus on the little ones, definitely this time, and behavior-wise, I want to say that nowadays it's not that we want to put the blame on others, but at home we're lacking a good amount of education, self-control, some responsibility, values, and that of course comes to the school, comes to the classroom, multiplied by 20 or 22 children with all those different backgrounds. And we have, what I've noticed the most is a lack of basic values that don't allow the kids to be respectful, to wait for their turn, basic things that affect the classroom management on the long run.
Okay, so as a teacher, what did you do to address those things and work on them?
Well, I consider myself quite strict and firm in my classroom management procedures. So I would establish my rules, consequences, rewards, a whole classroom management plan since day one, and I would stick to it very, very strictly. I would work, I always joked about this, I would work so hard the first few weeks, couple of months, to establish and to make sure the students would follow the classroom management plan, that after a while they would run the show without a problem.
Okay, what were some of the specifics of your classroom management?
Classroom management included basic, concise rules according to their age level. So for my kindergartners, we would have around 5 very basic, specific, clear rules that we would go over not only on paper, but we would role play those rules on a daily basis until they got it. So I would toss some of the manipulatives on the table, on the carpet, and we would role play. What do we do when we finish playing? So a couple of students would come to the carpet and pick up and clean up and put them where they belong. And when we enter, what do we do? So for procedures, so I would take all of them with their homework folder all the way out to the hallway and enter again. We would practice. Where are they going to put their folders? Where do we put our folders? In this basket. So we would enter and drop off the folders. And that would be on a daily basis, and if we had to repeat it in the same day a couple of times, we would as a game to reinforce those rules.
Okay. So did school policies, I guess specifically here in the States, affect your classroom management, like how you would have preferred it?
Yeah, definitely. We just had to follow the guidelines and follow the procedures, policies from the school district, and nothing would be totally opposite to what we were looking for in the classroom. We just would adapt our rules and procedures to the little ones, because at times it seems like people up there creating policies and procedures tend to forget that we have little ones that need a little bit more specifics.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about classroom management when you were overseas in Dubai or like over in Mexico versus how it is here.
Okay, well, it is quite different, I have to say it. In the United Arab Emirates, the discipline is quite loose. Parents are not really in charge of disciplining their children, and nor the maids are. The maids are in charge of taking care of them, but not disciplining them. And the parents really don't take much pride in doing that. So it is hard. The children are used to really doing whatever they want to do. And us as Westerners, when we arrived to the schools with locals as our students, it got really hard because of the fact that we wanted to have that discipline in place, those procedures in place, and our co-teachers, Arabic co-teachers, would see us, not only the students, but the co-teachers would see us as kind of extreme in our ways to discipline the children, the students. We wanted for them to follow rules and procedures, but they weren't used to it, and their answer, not only children, but co-teachers and supervisors, would always be, they're just kids, they're children, they're boys, they're little girls, they're babies. So that didn't help. It was hard. It was a hard task implementing classroom procedures in the Emirates. Now, on the opposite in Mexico, and I hope I'm not biased, but we still have a little bit of respect towards our teachers. Culturally, we do respect our teachers, and that helps a lot, especially knowing that we have kindergarten classes that are over 40 students, and it's not easy to control 44-year-olds or 45-year-olds, but having the parents telling them almost every morning, you listen to your teacher. You need to be a good boy. You need to respect your teacher. Ma'am, you tell me if he doesn't respect you. You tell me if she doesn't do good. So that help us a lot all the time as a teacher in Mexico.
Okay, that's cool. So as an experienced teacher, how has classroom management changed when you started teaching versus now?
It has changed in the sense that I think we are trying more and more. We're trying harder to find a better way to address all those behavioral issues with the students in class. Unfortunately, personally, I do believe that society out there, technology, is going faster than what we can go as teachers, and the outside world is offering those students a lot more than what we can control, in terms of violence, in terms of disrespect, in terms of other things that are not probably best values for our kids in the classroom. Before, I want to say I was part of the paddling, but I don't remember being part of it. And it's not about violence, but I do believe we need to go back to a firmer way of disciplining our young ones, not in order to harm them or to make them fear us, but in order to make them better human beings. I do believe that, yes.
Okay, so what was your worst student like, and how did you handle it?
One of my worst little ones, well, if we can call it, yes, a terrible kindergartner. I mean, they're little and it's so easy to handle them at the end of the road. But tantrums would still be one of those students that really would distract the rest of them. If it got really bad, we got to the point, as per school policy, to just have to call the security officer.
Oh, wow.
So he would take care of the little kindergartner. They are trained to restrain them the right way. They are trained to handle those kids. Because what would happen with that little boy was that he would start hurting not only others but himself. And that was pretty scary and quite dangerous to try to handle as a teacher, having other 18 or 19 little ones as well. So basically, for that specific child, I would rely on one of my supervisors, an administrator, or the security officer.
Okay. So I guess kind of to add a quick little question in there.
Yes.
When you were in the public schools, did you have like a specific behavioral like policy you had to go by, like say 1, the general everybody, 2, a little bit more warnings, and then 3, like say a referral or something like that, like
For
parent meeting or
Oh
something?
yeah, for as a consequence for not following the rules, we would go at different levels. Yes, absolutely. The rules were there for all of them, and it's so interesting the fact that with the little ones, the minute you establish and you share with them certain rules or certain procedures, they won't let go. They won't let you forget about that. They will remind you, ma'am, but you said we had to do this and this, or we weren't allowed to do this and that. So I would also always have my managers in charge of checking on those rules, and they would be the ones right away telling me, well, so and so didn't follow the rule. And we would go to the first consequence, which would be, yes, a warning, a verbal warning. From there, they would change their color from red, the green, yellow, and red system. And from there, yeah, we would send a note home or make a phone call right there and then to the parent, and having the child be the one to speak if he wanted to.
Right. Okay. Do you see classroom management changing more in the future? Like, I guess how it was before, like, used to be really firm, and now you can't have as much control because of, like, technology. Like, do you still see it, like, ever changing?
I want to say it will keep on changing, unfortunately, not the way some of us, I'm talking about myself, I would want it to change into a more solid way of solidifying those kids in the right track. But hopefully we can do, I know that as new teachers, you all have the commitment and the enthusiasm of creating those classroom environments where all the children are there to learn and are happy to be there to learn. So that would be the main focus. It's not that it bothers me personally that a child is misbehaving. It's just the fact that it disrupts the class and it interrupts the lesson for the other students that might want to learn. So hopefully we can keep on working hard and researching even harder to find better ways to do this.
That's good. Okay, so in regard to behavior, classroom management, and things like that, would you have any advice for future teachers?
I do have one advice, consistent advice, is that you have your classroom management plan in place since day 1, minute 1. Be firm at the beginning, and I know at times students look at me like, no, you want to be liked by the students. Day 1, first few days, you want to be the nicest teacher so they like you. To me, it's not like that. I do advise new teachers to be very firm. We don't have to be mean, way far from being mean, but we really need to be very firm, and from there loosen up as the time goes by and as the students consider that is the natural environment they're going to be learning in, as a natural environment and not as something that they're restricted to. That's the environment they need to be in order to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Aguilar.
You're very welcome, Ms. Sarah.